You should ignore disrespect. Be the bigger person. That is the lie they feed you so you remain harmless. The world does not reward moral restraint. It rewards those who control perception. Every time you absorb disrespect in silence without strategy, you teach the room how to treat you. Every time you explode in emotion, you confirm your weakness. The crowd learns faster than you think. You live inside a hierarchy, not a classroom. And hierarchies do not care about your intentions. They care about signals. You are told that respect is earned through kindness, consistency, and being a good person. That advice works only in children's books. In real life, respect is extracted through controlled dominance, not violence, not noise, but calibrated power. The darkest way to handle disrespect is not revenge. It is not confrontation. It is not forgiveness. It is something colder and far more effective. Disrespect is not random. It is a probe. Humans scan status the way animals scan threat. Eyes measure posture. Voices measure certainty. Silence measures rank. When someone interrupts you, mocks you, dismisses you, or undermines you, they are not expressing emotion. They are collecting data. They are asking one question: how much can I take from you before you push back? Most people fail this test into predictable ways. The first is submission. They smile. They explain. They rationalize. They tell themselves it is not a big deal. The second is eruption. They defend. They over-justify. They become loud, moral, emotional. Both responses expose you as low status. Submission signals that your boundaries are cheap. Explosion signals that your emotions are easy to control. The predator does not fear either. You were taught that disrespect is a moral issue. It is not. It is a power transaction. When you treat it as moral, you try to fix the other person's behavior. When you treat it as power, you reshape the environment that allows their behavior. This is where most people collapse. They argue fairness in a system that runs on leverage. The prince exposed this centuries ago. Machiavelli did not ask how rulers should behave in theory. He studied how power actually moves in reality. He understood that appearance governs obedience, not virtue. People do not submit to goodness. They submit to authority they cannot predict. You lose respect the moment your reactions become predictable. Watch how people respond to disrespect in rooms, workplaces, families, and online spaces. They over-explain. They try to clarify intent. They justify their worth. They seek validation from the very person lowering them. This is psychological poverty. Oversharing is a signal of need. Over-explaining is a signal of insecurity. Emotional dumping is a signal of low rank. The more you attempt to be understood by someone who disrespects you, the more you validate their frame. You enter their reality. You react inside their narrative. And the one who defines the narrative controls the power exchange. This is frame control. The dominant defines reality. The subordinate negotiates within it. Robert Greene articulated this modernly. Those who control perception control outcomes, not through force but through narrative gravity. The darkest way to handle disrespect is controlled deprivation, not confrontation, not explanation, not forgiveness. You remove emotional supply. You deny reaction. You starve the behavior. This is not therapy. This is discipline. 3 mechanisms govern this approach. Gray rock method: you become interesting to the disrespecter. Flat tone, minimal response. No emotional fuel. Predators hunt movement. Stillness makes you invisible to attack. Fogging: strategic agreement without surrender. You acknowledge without validating their frame. Yes, I hear that. No defense. No justification. You remove the conflict they wanted while keeping your position intact. Amused mastery, not humor for bonding. Amusement as dominance. A calm, detached smile when disrespected communicates one thing: you are not worth emotional expenditure. This is a high-status signal. It reframes the interaction without noise. Noise is weakness. Silence is leverage. You do not correct them. You reposition yourself above the need to react. This is the surgical removal of influence. Victim waits to be treated well. Predator trains the environment to treat them carefully. Reaction broadcasts vulnerability. Control projects inevitability. Noise seeks attention. Silence creates gravity. Exposure begs to be seen. Scarcity forces others to look. Comfort seeks validation. Power extracts compliance. Access is given to the desperate. Merit is reserved for the scarce. Every time you react emotionally to disrespect, you choose comfort over power. And comfort is expensive. It costs you your position in the hierarchy. Marcus Aurelius did not preach passivity. He preached internal sovereignty. Control your response. Do not beg for a different world. Seneca understood that emotional reactivity is slavery, not to others, but to your own impulses. The Stoic does not tolerate disrespect through moral weakness. He tolerates nothing internally while shaping the external through composure. This is not virtue signaling. This is dominance through restraint. You appear calm, they feel destabilized. That asymmetry is power. In animal hierarchies, the alpha does not bark first. The noise comes from those who want attention. In surgery, the scalpel does not apologize to the tumor. It removes it without drama. In warfare, the general does not argue with the enemy's taunts. He cuts supply lines. In negotiation rooms, the one who speaks less forces the other to reveal leverage. In workplaces, the person who reacts emotionally becomes predictable. The one who withholds reaction becomes unreadable. Unreadable people are dangerous, not because they attack, because others cannot model them. Your external behavior rewires your internal psychology. Act unreactive first. Your nervous system follows. Do not wait to feel composed. Waiting to feel ready is a low-status behavior. You train composure by performing it. Each time you deny disrespect the reaction it seeks. You reprogram your identity from reactive to sovereign. This is not confidence. It is calibration. You are teaching others that access to your emotional state is earned, not taken. Online disrespect follows the same laws. Overexposure signals need. Need invites disrespect. Scarcity creates value. Controlled visibility creates leverage. Do not explain yourself to the crowd. Do not correct strangers. Do not bleed in public. Silence online is not absence. It is positioning. You let the noise reveal the low status. You remain unreactive. Your silence becomes a projection screen for authority. Understanding this changes nothing. Execution is where most people retreat. They nod. They agree. They go back to reacting emotionally to the next provocation. Passivity is fear wearing the costume of maturity. You are not above the hierarchy. You are either navigating it or being shaped by it. There is no neutral. Here's the law you cannot escape. Morality follows power. It does not precede it. Respect is not granted by fairness. It is extracted by those who control perception, reaction, and access. The darkest way to handle disrespect is to make yourself a void for it. No reaction, no supply, no narrative entry. You become expensive to provoke, and expensive things are treated carefully. The world does not care if you are good. It only measures if you are costly to disrespect. Right now, people are testing you. With tone, with delay, with dismissal, with jokes that slide just far enough to see if you flinch. And you are failing most of these tests without knowing they are tests, not because you are weak, because you are trained to mistake politeness for safety. This is not about manners. This is about hierarchy, and hierarchy does not negotiate with feelings. Disrespect is not an insult. It is a probe. Disrespect is not emotional. It is informational. In animal hierarchies, dominance is not declared. It is tested. A wolf does not attack first. It steps closer. It stares longer. It occupies space. Humans do the same with better costumes. A coworker interrupts you. A friend mocks your boundary. A stranger speaks over you. A group ignores your contribution, then repeats it later with someone else's name. These are not accidents. These are scans. Here's the uncomfortable truth. People don't disrespect you because they hate you. They disrespect you because they sense you won't push back. Think about it. In school, at work, in relationships, in public. Who gets disrespected the most? Not the loudest person, not the strongest person, but the one who reacts emotionally and then does nothing. Let me paint a scene. Someone cuts you in line. You feel the anger. Your chest tightens. Your mind races. but you stay silent. What just happened? You trained that person's brain to see you as safe to disrespect. Here's the dark part. Every time you let disrespect slide, you teach others how to treat you. And worse, you teach yourself that your boundaries don't matter. Now listen carefully. Machiavellian power dynamics are not about being evil. They're about understanding how humans actually behave under pressure. People follow signals, not words. You can say "don't disrespect me" all day, but if your behavior signals fear, your words mean nothing. And this leads to the first rule. But before I reveal it, ask yourself this: who disrespects you the most in your life right now? Keep that person in your mind. You're about to change how they see you. The rule of cold presence. Here's the first darkest rule. Never react emotionally to disrespect. Respond with cold presence. Emotions lower your status. Anger says, "You control my emotions." Defensiveness says, "You got to me?" Over-explaining says, "I'm seeking your approval." Now picture this instead. Someone throws a subtle insult, a joke at your expense, a dismissive comment. Instead of reacting, you pause, you look at them calmly, and you say nothing. Silence is not weakness. Silence is pressure. People expect emotion. When they don't get it, their brain panics. They start thinking, "Did I go too far? Why didn't he react? Is this person dangerous socially?" This is psychological dominance, not through force, but through control of emotional energy. Let me give you a simple real-life example. Someone says, "You're always so quiet. Do you even have a life?" Old you would defend yourself. You pauses, looks at them, then calmly says, "Interesting observation," and goes back to what you were doing. That sentence does three things. You didn't deny it. You didn't accept the insult. You showed you're not emotionally available. That alone shifts power. But this is only step one, because silence without strategy turns into passive submission. So now let's talk about controlled retaliation. This is where most people mess up. Strategic delay: how to strike without fighting. Here's the dark move most people don't understand. Never confront disrespect in the moment. Respond later when emotion is gone. Why? Because real power is not impulsive, it's calculated. When you react instantly, you play on their emotional field. When you respond later, you move the battlefield to logic and control. Let's say a coworker disrespects you in a meeting, makes you look small. You feel the heat rise. Your ego wants to snap back. Don't. You stay calm. You let the moment pass. Then later, privately, you say, "Earlier in the meeting, you spoke over me. Don't do that again." Short, direct, no emotion. This does something powerful. You show, you noticed, you didn't forget, you are setting a boundary without begging. This creates psychological tension. Now they realize, you're not weak, you're controlled. People fear controlled individuals more than aggressive ones. Aggression is predictable. Control is unpredictable. Now here's the twist. If they repeat the behavior after this, you escalate socially, not emotionally. Which brings us to the next rule. This one separates low-status men from high-status men. Remove access, not just behavior. Most people try to change how others treat them. Powerful people change who gets access to them. This is Machiavellian in nature. You don't argue with disrespect. You make disrespect cost access. Someone disrespects you. You reduce your time, your attention, your emotional availability, your helpfulness. You become colder, shorter, less available. Not dramatic, not loud, just distant. Here's the psychological effect. Humans crave access to what feels scarce and valuable. When someone realizes they lost access to you, their brain re-evaluates your value. This is why people chase after those who pull away. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how people suddenly become respectful after they think they might lose you? That's not love. That's status recalibration. You don't teach people with lectures. You teach them with consequences. And consequences don't need to be loud. Silence, distance, removal of benefits. That's enough to shift power. But there's one final layer. This is the darkest principle. Most people avoid this because it feels uncomfortable. But this is where true respect is built. Become the person they can't replace. Here's the ultimate rule. The less replaceable you are, the less disrespect you receive. People disrespect what they can easily replace. Think about it. Why do people disrespect the quiet guy at work, but respect the one who brings value? Why do people mock the needy friend, but respect the one who has options? Because power flows to scarcity and competence. So you stop fighting disrespect directly. Instead, you build skills people depend on, emotional control, a life that doesn't revolve around validation, independence. This is slow power, not flashy, but deadly effective. When people realize, if I lose this person, I lose value, their behavior changes, not because they like you, but because they need you. This is the Machiavellian truth. Respect is not given for kindness. Respect is given for leverage. Now here's the twist. When you no longer need respect, you attract it because neediness repels power. Detachment attracts it. So let me ask you, what skill, value, or leverage do you need to build so people can't casually dismiss you anymore? Sit with that, because that answer changes your status in the world. What you heard is the surface layer. The deeper mechanics of perception warfare, narrative control, and hierarchy manipulation are not for public distribution, not because they are secret, but because most people would weaponize them without restraint. If you stay to the end, you are not looking for comfort. You are looking for leverage. That already separates you. Subscribe if you are done with moral fantasies. Only the serious should enter deeper levels of this material. The rest can keep being managed by the world they refuse to understand. Make your choices. Victim or master, reactive or inevitable, invisible or respected.